Hey Daisy, let's take a look at this new set of essays, okay? This is the one about getting married and having babies in your 30s. Let's see what you said. Okay, in this contemporary world where advancement in technology has already influenced the lifestyle of people, so does their age of tying the knot and having children. Many couples nowadays marry and have offspring after they attain the age of 30 as compared to when they were in their 20s. As compared, let's see, there's something about that sounds strange to me. Many couples nowadays marry and have offspring after they attain the age of 30 as compared to maybe in their 20s. Maybe it's this when they were, which is strange. So it's compared to in their 20s. I think that's better. I strongly believe this trend will have a positive influence on the individual and his family, as by that time most of the people are financially secure, no D, and are more mature than if they were younger. Okay? Not most of the people, but most people. Alright, let's move on. There is, what did I just do here? Wait. No. There we go. Okay. There is ample evidence that supports the idea of getting married later in life than earlier. Promoting, that's what you're going to hear in ing. Better understanding between a couple. The central reason behind this is that both partners are mature enough to comprehend the needs and desires of the opposite sex. While young couples are impulsive and reactive, this can lead to marital conflicts. The mature couples are calmer and family-oriented. For instance, a recent empirical study by the Department of Psychology of Harvard University revealed that divorce rates are much higher if couples are married in their teens or in 20s as compared to later age. As compared to a later age. I don't want to say later age, maybe older age would be better. It must not be forgotten that most of the people attain an advanced level of understanding, maturity, and sense of responsibility after the age of 30. Therefore, it is conclusively clear there is a considerably strong case to be made in favor of couples marrying later in life. Wow. What? While doesn't work here. There's a strong case to be made in favor of couples marrying later in life than while they are young and mature. Alright, that's fine. To elucidate my stance further, another crucial milestone attained after 30 is financial security, which is cardinal before anyone could start a family and have children. This is due to the fact that, get rid of this comma here, and I get rid of this comma here. You don't need either one of them. Let's read it to see what it sounds like without the commas. This is due to the fact that then they can provide their children a better life, better opportunities, and education from prestigious schools and universities. To achieve this economic stability in the current competitive social environment, a major section of the public has to undertake higher education and university degrees to increase their career prospects. As expected, they are now investing a higher amount of time, a greater amount of time in professional and vocational education, which cements, because it's professional and, let me think about that, which cements, I still say cements, not cement, their position in the professional world. Doctors, for example, are already in their 30s by the time they finish their medical degree and have a job. Consequently, it is possible to state beyond doubt that by being economically sound before having children, couples are able to provide a rich environment for upbringing the new generation. This is not the right word, upbringing. It's a verb. It's a noun. It's not a verb. Let's try it again. Couples are able to provide a rich environment for raising the new generation, which is not feasible for the younger generation. To conclude from the arguments and examples given, I firmly believe that shifting the age of marriage and conception from 20s to 30s is a positive development, as people by this age are markedly mature, have a sense of responsibility to meet family commitments, and above all, have decent jobs to support their families financially. Okay. It's good, Daisy. I liked it. There were a couple of areas that were a little awkward, where there were some poor word choices, but on the whole, it was good. So this paragraph really dealt with marriage. This paragraph dealt with childbirth. So I am pretty okay with all of that. Let's see. Is it a positive or negative development? So you said it's a positive development, and basically you support it. So you were fine. You were fine with this. I liked the language in this paragraph quite a bit. So All in all, it's a well-done essay, okay? Let's take a look at this one about the rain. The line graph compares England, Scotland, and Wales in terms of monthly rainfall in millimeters in 2018. Overall, it is evident from the graph that England and Wales received the highest rainfall in July, while Scotland experienced the most rainfall in March and October. Also, it is noticeable that fluctuating tendencies were seen in all of the three places over the period given. Okay, fine. More precisely, Scotland received 125 mm of rainfall in January, the highest of the three places, which plummeted to about 20 mm in Why is it mm? Isn't it? Wait a minute. It's not millimeters. ML, that's why. I keep thinking to myself, why is it mm? It's supposed to be ML, so be careful there, okay? Your mm here is wrong, so it should be ML. Where was I? Okay, which plummeted to about 20 ml in the following month before rising dramatically to reach a peak of about 140 in March. Thereafter, it reached a second peak in October at about the same rainfall as in March, after going through some major fluctuations from March to October. Okay, rainfall plunged again, but quickly recovered to just over 100 ml by the end of the year. All right, it's good. I like that you started with January, and then you went to March. There wasn't much between March and October. You just told me that there was a fluctuation. So that was a big gap of time to not really give me anything. Let's see, March to October. You couldn't even have given me like a range. You couldn't even say what the numbers were between. All right, does that make sense? So, for example, March for Scotland was here, right? So it was around like 130. And then the lowest point within those next few months was this one here in April, where it was like around 30. So you could have said that it fluctuated between 30 and like 130, even for the rest of that period. Okay, so I would have liked something like that. I mean, yeah, it's okay to say that for 6 months of the year it fluctuated, but give me some sort of frame of reference. Like, what kind of fluctuation are we talking about? Okay, because it could just be a minor fluctuation, or it could be like an enormous fluctuation. Alternatively, you could have talked about this huge change, like this one right here. And then you could have said that for, say, for example, May to October, the figures fluctuated between I guess around 80 to 130. If you wanted, you could have done that too. All right, but just give some sort of information. Don't just tell me that for 6 months out of the whole graph that, it just fluctuated. All right? Okay. So, in contrast, the rainfall for England and Wales showed somewhat similar trends as for the first half of the year. England had just over 100 ml rainfall, while Wales was almost half of England's, okay, at the start of the year. The figures went up and down widely to peak at almost 125 in July for both the places. Let's see. July, yes, okay, fine. Okay. Following this, the rainfall in Wales, no comma, plummeted to less than 50 and remained relatively stable until October, when it surged again to over 100 ml and reached just above 50 in December, while England saw minor oscillations to reach a high of about 125 towards the end of the survey period. All right, let's see what you actually talked about here for England, because you said they had a similar trend, but I really don't know what that trend is for the first half of the year. You just told me that their trends were similar, correct? And then you told me, let's see, England had 100 at the start of the year, okay, and then it went up and down, and then we have a figure for July at 125, and let's see, what else do I know about England? Okay, again, so I really don't have much about England, do I? So I know this 100, and I know this 125, and I know this 125 yet again. Let's see what the actual graph shows us for England. So England, I mean, what about this low point here? Don't you think that was worth mentioning? Or maybe some of the other times that it went below 100. So it went below 100 in March, went below 100 in May, went below 100 in October. So those are some things that you could have talked about, all right? So one nice way to talk about this figure for England is you could say that for most of the year, the figure for England, the rainfall for England ranged between 100 and, oh, I don't know, 125. However, at 4 points during the year, it went below this. And well, actually 5. So you could say here, you could say here and here, here and here. All right, so you're at least giving a little more information. So rather than telling me these words that went up and down, you could at least provide a little more information that makes it gives the reader a little better picture, okay? It's a little more accurate, it's a little more precise in terms of the data. Let's see. So I think that's what it is. I'm not super thrilled with some of the data you selected. I think you kind of, I want you to start learning about how to treat some of these periods without really going into too much detail, but giving a little more information. So the first thing that I want to tell you about a graph like this where you've got a year is that there are a couple of really important points as far as I'm concerned. The beginning is an important point. So it's a year. I want to know how the year ended, how the year began, but I also want to know how the year ended. Then the other things that I want to hear about are those highs and those lows. Okay, so for example, for Scotland, it would be obviously this interesting stuff here for that first 4 months of the year. Okay, and then just give me a little information like, okay, I know this whole thing is about fluctuation, so just tell me where that fluctuation ranged. Okay, so for example, from May until October, it ranged from here until this number, and then it did some crazy things again at the end of the year. But just give me that figure for the end of the year. So that's that's kind of how I want you to describe some of this information, so that the person reading this can understand what you're looking at without actually having it in front of him. That should be one of your goals when you're describing something like this. All right, I hope that information is helpful. I mean, I like what you wrote in terms of the language you used. All of that was fine. What I want to do is get you a little higher in the task achievement. And I think you can do this if you select some of your information a little more carefully and just provide a little more valuable information about the graph you have in front of you. Okay, that's my goal here today. So go ahead and correct these essays, return them back to us corrected, and let's see your next set. Alrighty, good luck.